The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. Welcome. It is Thursday. We are getting into the middle of April here. It's been a very exciting month. It is Autism Awareness Month and there are so many activities, so many wonderful things to attend and so many fabulous people to meet. I just keep being struck by how many amazing people that there are on this journey with us, whether they're individuals who are on the spectrum themselves or parents of individuals who are on the spectrum. This is an amazing community of people, and I am overwhelmed with gratitude for all the ways that you guys have participated in the show. We're not quite halfway through the month, though, and I got to tell you, we have some very exciting things in store. If you weren't with us at the beginning of this week and you're looking and thinking, what has happened? I did shave my head on the show on Monday. We had a cavalcade of wonderful people with us, speaking of fabulous people, that all have some connection to autism that were with us on Monday as I shaved my head. We're doing an entire month of focusing on, for Autism Awareness Month, compassion in action, encouraging everybody to do something nice for someone else. I have to tell you, we've been talking about this and we've started putting it in motion, and it's very exciting because when you do something nice for someone else, not only, first of all, there's the action that it's something nice for that person, which cannot be understated, but the ripple effects of it are so large. You feel good yourself. I can attest to that. And then other things happen as a result. And we teach people how to treat us when we act compassionately. And I had a couple of different things happen yesterday that we're going to talk a little bit later of ways that was really driven home to me, how important it is that we show compassion as a community and how important it is that autism awareness be something that gets discussed on a regular basis. So two really interesting stories that happened yesterday afternoon and yesterday evening in my personal life. And I'm sure you guys have things to share, and I'd love to trade stories about what's happening for you for Autism Awareness Month. And are you putting compassion in action? We're hearing from some of you that some of you are taking on a single action. Some of you are deciding to do an action a day. I love that, and how it's changing your life and the lives of the people around you. But I want to remind you that this entire show, it's meant to be interactive. We talk about autism from a 360-degree perspective. Whether you're a parent, teacher, practitioner, or an individual on the spectrum yourself, we hope that you'll find a home here to talk about things that are happening in the news, exciting topics, things that are, not so exciting because they're difficult, and share, learn, and grow. And we want to hear from you. What kinds of topics do you want us to cover? What kinds of things are you interested in? You can ask questions, too, of any of the experts or individuals that we have on the show. We've got quite a lineup today, and I want to have Emily show you all the different ways that you can interact with us here at Autism Live. And while she does that, I want to remind you there's only one way to watch us live, and that's at www.autism-live.com. When you go there, you see a desktop. There is a box, a white box that says questions we're answering right now. Put your cursor there and start typing. When you do and hit enter, it shows up magically right here on my screen. You and I have an opportunity to converse converse. You have an opportunity to converse with our guests. It's totally free. You don't have to log in. Just putting your cursor there is the login. We aren't looking for a credit card number or your address or even your name. Although I will say this, if you want us to contact you back and you want to give us personal information, I do have a way of filtering that before I post it for the community at large. And I know somebody left their cell phone number yesterday. That's great. I'm not going to post it, but we will be in touch with you. So feel free to leave personal information and I'll edit it out before I share. But great way, instant gratification. I tend to like that. But many other ways for you to get in touch with us and many other ways for you to watch the show as well. We're available on as many screens as we can find. So that's how we are. Now, we like to start every morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and try to demystify it. We give you the actual definition, and then we give you a working definition that isn't as exact, maybe not perfect, but it gives us a start of knowing, okay, what are we talking about in our own individual lives that is useful to us, right? Sometimes you look up these definitions to try to make sense of it, and there's just more jargon. And you go, really? Because I don't have enough to do? Really? But like we teach our kids, the way we build any skill is by taking it a little bit at a time and adding on these words to our lexicon, if you will, so that eventually we can sit in a meeting and understand what's being said about ourselves or about our kids, which, how important is that? All right, so our term today, and it is something that we talk about a fair amount, it is DTT. Now, I don't know about you, but the first time I heard this and somebody was talking about DTT, I was like, we're talking about pesticides? Are we talking about bug spray? This is where my head went. Not useful in this conversation about autism, right? So let's look at what DTT actually means. It stands for discrete trial teaching. DTT. Now, do you need to remember that it's discrete trial teaching? Probably not, but you do need to know what DTT is. It's training that focuses on a single cycle of a behaviorally based instruction routine. All right. You know, if you're me and the first day of autism, I was like, what? What does this have to do with anything? Okay, so let's look at our working definition and see if we can make sense of it. Teaching one targeted behavior at a time. We talk about behavior all the time here on the show and how everything that we're engaged in right now is a form of behavior. What I'm doing is behavior. What I'm thinking is really behaviorally based as well, right? And if we want to learn a new skill, there are many different ways to teach, and I'm a former teacher. There are many different ways to teach a new skill, right? But one of the ways that we want to make sure, if we want to make sure that somebody is going to learn a new skill and that they're going to do it over and over and over again, that we know through much, much research that the only way that they're going to do it over and over and over again is if it's reinforced. If there's something about it that's reinforcing, otherwise we're not going to do it. People get up and brush their teeth every day. It's reinforcing to them on some level. Different things for different people are reinforcing about it. Some people like the taste in their mouth. Some people like the way their teeth feel. Some people, you know, it just makes them feel like it's the cup of coffee in the morning. I've gotten started. I brush my teeth, right? But there's something about it that's reinforcing. For some people, it's the long-term goal of I go to the dentist and I don't have to have a drill, right? But it's absolutely reinforcing. So really important component of it. But how did we learn how to brush our teeth? Who taught us how to brush our teeth? We didn't come out of the womb and go, I'm going to brush my teeth, right? And we didn't suddenly at 2 go, I'm going to pick up a toothbrush and I'm going to know how to brush my teeth efficiently, right? So how do we make sure all the different thousands of skills that a child learns, and especially a child who's having difficulty just picking it up miraculously through osmosis, right? There are some little kids that they see something and they just get it, right? But what do we do when any child doesn't just get a particular skill? And keep in mind, even neurotypical children, maybe there's one skill that a neurotypical child gets, but there's another one that they're going to have difficulties with. None of us are great at everything and get it the first time. So for any of us, how can we ensure that learning a new skill, that we're going to do it as efficiently and as effectively as possible? And I always go back to the example that Evelyn Gould who is a BCBA, board certified behavior analyst, talked about with me one time that just really, I went, oh my gosh, I get it. Because there's so many variables going on, right? And she talked about if I were to go to Russia and I don't speak any Russian except for dos vidanias, right? And I'm going to be in Russia and I want to pick up the language as quickly as possible. So I'm renting a room in a Russian house, and the person who is there renting me the room comes to me in the room as they're giving me the linens, and they start saying a bunch of different things in Russian, and I don't understand it. How quickly am I going to pick up the language if they say a bunch of different words and it's not tied to anything? Right? It's going to take me a long time. I'm going to have to differentiate and pick out, okay, what did this word mean? And I'm going to have to hear it 1,000 times before I go, oh, that word means this. But if that person were to pare down and make it very specific, one little learning moment, and get rid of all the other variables, as many of them as they can, how much quicker would I learn a word in Russian? So if that person were to take my hand and take me down to the kitchen, and there's a bowl of soup there, and they mime the act of eating soup, and then they say the word for eat in Russian, right? So they've eliminated, if they stand there and say to me in the bedroom as they're handing me the linens and say, are you hungry? Because I have something for you to eat and I think that you might want to eat something, how likely am I going to learn the word eat? But if they take me down to the soup, they mime the action and go, eat, I'm going to learn that word much quicker because they've eliminated all the variables, other variables. It's narrowed down and I go, oh, that word means eat. Well, what if we could do that for every single behavior for children? We could pare it down into one little cycle of behavior and go, this is what it is, and when you do this, you get reinforced for it. So removing all the other variables, saying, for the child, and this is one of the hardest things in the world for me because I overtalk things, like now. If we're trying to teach the child to come here, right? And there's 85 things going on, and we're at the park and we're running around and saying to the dog, stop, sit, do whatever, don't run, do this, come here, right? The child is not going to efficiently learn come here, especially if it's a child who's having difficulty learning. And when when I say come here, and if the child comes over and there's 8 other things going on, and the dog is jumping up and down and they're looking at the dog, and I go, great job, and I reinforce, the child doesn't know what I reinforced. They might get it in their head that when they look at the dog, that's what I liked, right? So we have to be as clear as possible. So we take a cycle of behavior, something happens, the child does a behavior, we reward it, boom. It's a connection in the child's brain. And again, this is not just for children on the autism spectrum, it's for everyone. Very, very effective way at the beginnings of teaching any skill. It is not the be-all, end-all in terms of how you get there, because eventually the child has to be able to learn it in the natural environment, and that we'll talk more about tomorrow. But when we talk about DTT, and sometimes you see, when people talk about ABA, you'll see a video online, and sometimes we show them here on the show, where somebody says, give me horse, right? And the child puts the picture of the horse in the therapist's hand, and the therapist holds it up and goes, yes, good job, it's a horse, right? What we've done is take this little cycle of behavior, because we're starting to teach the receptive label. I had to think about it for a second. The receptive label for a horse. So the child understands when you say horse that you're talking about horse. It's a great way to begin to teach any skill. It's amazing. But there are still other things you have to do to get the skill to be completely the child's own. But DTT, an important part of any ABA program, a really important part of any ABA program, but by no means the whole program, all right? And tomorrow when we talk about NET, you'll see what I'm talking about. But DTT, discrete trial teaching, separating, teaching one little thing in one little cycle of behavior. You say something or do something, the child does the behavior, you reinforce it, and the child quickly gets, oh, when this happens, I'm supposed to do this, and then good things happen. Woohoo! I want to do it more. It's a great thing. Trust me. Okay. We always have a question of the day for you, and today is no different. Today our question is, what's the greatest act of compassion you have ever seen? And every place that you've ever been, what's the most amazing thing that you've seen? And I'd forgotten that this was the question. There are so many amazing things that I have been able to see in my life that I don't know that I could narrow it down to one. But I will tell you that it isn't always the hugest things. The one that comes to mind for me, the greatest act of compassion that I ever remember was, and I immediately well up because it was such a small thing, but it was everything to me in the moment. When I was probably 21, my dad had a stroke and we didn't know if he was going to live. And I remember we were all in the waiting room and there were a whole bunch of people, family members, who were saying, do this, feel this, right? Eat this, but I didn't know if my dad was going to live. And I was sitting there crying, and I got to the last of the really horrible tissues that they had in the hospital waiting room. I pulled the last one out, and I was crying, and my uncle, my father's older brother, was standing there. And of course, he was going through stuff too, right? And all these people who were saying, feel this, do this, whatever, he saw that I'd taken the last tissue, and he left the room. And I remember thinking, oh, he's probably uncomfortable with the fact that I'm crying. He probably wants to go someplace to cry for himself. It was a very solemn moment. My dad lived a lot longer after that. It ended up being, a really positive thing. But so I was sitting there, no tissues, and suddenly, wordlessly, my uncle came back, and he had gone down to the gift shop and bought the nicest box of tissues he could find. The cushy kind, not the industrial wallpaper kind. And he just handed them to me. And I could see in his eyes that he was like, I just need to do something for you. And I've never forgotten that, because in amongst of all these other people who wanted to make it better, he saw a need and said, this I'm going to do, and I'm not going to ask you to feel or do anything other than what you're feeling, but I want to be of help. And I've never forgotten it, the power of doing something that simple. And of course, it's by no means the only compassionate thing, but the simplicity of it always sticks with me. But we'd love to hear from you guys. What's the most compassionate thing you've ever seen or felt? And we'll check in on Facebook a little bit later. We also always have a topic of the week. And of course, our topic this entire week is compassion in action. Doing something for somebody else. I got to tell you, no matter what's going on in your life, and you might be thinking, forget being nice to somebody else. I need something to happen for me. We've all had that day, right? But I guarantee you, if you get up out of the hole that you're in, whether it's sitting on the couch or riding in your car on the way to work, and reach out and do something nice for someone else, it's life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing, and you'll be amazed at the things that occur as a result of it. So we've been talking about that this week, and I'm inspired by all the things. A lot of you have been writing in and saying things that you're doing. Please feel free to send us a video. We want to show your videos of the things that you're doing with either on your own or with an organization. Very exciting, some of the things that you guys have written in. I'm so proud of us as a community that this is a way for us to show compassion in action, that we're the autism community, and we are a group of people who are amazing, and we care about other people. And as a result, the hope is that people will care about us as well. We're modeling the behavior, right? That's exactly what we're doing. Okay, we've got a really exciting show for you today. Some truly amazing people who have given back in incredible, incredible ways. Some of the different things. We are going to be joined in just a little while by Rich Everts. He is a filmmaker. He's an autism dad, first and foremost, and he's a filmmaker. He decided to tour the United States for 40 days, meet with 20 families who are dealing with autism, and tell their story. Truly amazing film. And Rich is on the road because he's got an amazing number of screenings across the country, and he's going to be talking to us. He's literally going to pull his car over on his way to his screening to talk to us on the phone. But it's the United States of Autism, a really important film, and we'll be talking with him in just a few minutes. Then just a little bit later, we're going to have Rose Morris with us, and she's an autism mom who saw a need and created she invented something for those of you who have children who are eloping or escaping in the middle of the night and you're not able to get sleep because you're terrified of what's going to happen with your child. So Rose saw this need in her home and she invented the safety sleeper. We're going to be talking to her about what that is and tell you how you can get a hold of one if this is your concern. And then a little bit later, we're going to be breaking it down with Angela Persicke. She is a BCBA, and I was looking for my book, which I've left by my desk because I was reading it. But we had on the show the other day the fabulous Yolanda Baker. That was on Tuesday. If you missed that interview, I want to encourage you to go and look at that. Yolanda Baker is the author of Bite Your Bills. There's the book cover right there. This is an amazing book, and I'm entrenched in it because we're doing the taxes, my husband and I, right now. And this is when you need it, right? And I saw a lot of you posting this morning on Facebook saying, oh, I thought I was doing so good because I was doing my taxes today. And then I see that all of you, other people who apparently don't have children on the autism spectrum who got it done months ago. But honestly, those of us who have kids on the spectrum, we're doing it this week. And this book is helping me, you guys. And not only that, Yolanda has agreed to do 2 free webinars tomorrow that you can log into, but you must reserve your spot. So you want to go to biteyourbills.com and reserve a spot. And if you're not able to go to a webinar tomorrow, Friday, or if you get there and they're filled up, she's willing to do some more next week. So go and register or go and leave her a message and saying, hey, here is when I need it, because it won't be recorded. She's doing them live. But an amazing book, especially it's great for helping to prepare you, and she's going to be doing those webinars about preparing you for the taxes right now. But not only that, it's a new way of looking at how to organize my receipts is what I'm getting, and how to really get the most for your dime. Every dime counts at this point, and knowing how to negotiate with your insurance company to get the services that you need and get as much of the money back. She managed to get back $28,000. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I said $28,000. That is nothing to sneeze at. And imagine if you could get a grant for $28,000, what you would do, what treatment you would do for your child. It's worth it to read this book, and you can get her book at biteyourbills.com. Okay, so all of this and much, much more, and we might even be joined by Ashley Colas, who would be talking with us about some of the great stuff that she finds throughout the world. I haven't checked with her. I don't know if we're having her today or not. But in any case, and I've got 2 stories to tell you about what happened in my life alone yesterday. So stick with us. More to come after these messages. Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism. My beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke? Guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
2nd.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
Did you have some gases?
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christy and Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable, and recovery from autism is possible.
Welcome back to Autism Live. And I had mentioned earlier that 2 things happened to me yesterday that I thought were interesting and remarkable. I got a phone call. We are renters. My husband and I do not own our own home. Welcome to the world of autism. And maybe someday, again, we'll be able to afford that. But, you know, right now we rent, and we're very grateful that we're able to rent in this market. And we have lovely, lovely landlords. And we live there's a homeowner association, right? And we very proudly strung our blue lights. We put them up the Saturday before the 1st because I didn't want, in case something happened, I wanted them to be ready. And then we turned them on the 1st. And for the first 48 hours of April, we just ran them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because we got LED lights this year. And I thought, you know what? I like to be ecologically sound, but I felt that this was important, and we had reduced our carbon footprint by making them the LED lights. Okay, so, and then we have been turning them on when we remember it. If we're home, a couple of times this month we've been out at events and come home after it was dark and not got them turned on, but most of the time we've had the blue lights on. So I checked my messages yesterday. There was a message that had come in several days ago from my landlord saying that the homeowners, they'd gotten a complaint. That the homeowners association had sent her a letter saying, your holiday lights are still up and a neighbor has complained, and please take them down. And so I called and she left me a very nice message saying, it's funny that, and she said, that just doesn't sound like you still have your holiday lights up in April. And could you please take them down or contact me if there's an issue or what's going on, right? So I called her back and I said, thank you so much. And I'm so sorry it took me so long. We've been a little busy. And they aren't holiday lights. It is April, it's Autism Awareness Month, and those are my lighted up blue lights. And I understand that they probably just don't know that, and so I'm letting you know, and if you let me know who to call, I'll tell them. But if they have a problem once they know, then I have a problem. And I said, because you let people string lights for other occasions, and this is a recognized, they light the Eiffel Tower, and already I could feel the blood pressure going up about, and I really don't think we have a fight. I really think what we have is people who are ignorant, and some person in my neighborhood who doesn't know and has so much time on their hands that they had time to complain about my blue lights. Okay. And once I told my landlady, she said, oh my goodness, I did not know that. I did not know that it's April Autism Awareness Month. I had no idea, and I didn't know that you were supposed to light it up blue. I wished I'd known. I would have put lights on my house. And I thought, there it is, how important it is that we take these steps, because, all right, now already in this conversation, there's one more person who knows about April Autism Awareness Month. And my husband could hear me on the phone talking to me. He says, what's going on? And I said, it's okay. This is a gift, because now our landlady knows, and she never knew before. And now she's going to call the Homeowners Association, and they're going to know when they didn't know before. And it is my hope that they will tell whoever it is in my neighborhood who complained. But we've also discussed putting up a big sign in our front lawn saying we're lighting it up blue for Autism Awareness Month, so that whoever it is who drives by and who decided that they just didn't like my lights gets some education, right? So we were talking about this and recognizing what a gift it was. And we went yesterday, as I mentioned before, we sometimes do, we went to Disneyland for just a couple of hours. This is the thing that my family does. We don't go on big vacations, but we as a family will go to Disneyland for a couple of hours. And how lovely that we live in Southern California and can do that, and how lovely that Disneyland makes it easy for people who live here, because you can purchase a pass that really makes it incredibly affordable. It's cheaper than going to Chuck E. Cheese. And I love Chuck E. Cheese, but it's cheaper to go to Disneyland, right? And so we went to Disneyland last night, and afterwards we were in the Lego store, because, that's what you do. You go to the Lego store after Disneyland, and I was there with my new pate, and I have hot flashes and cold flashes, so the hat was going on and off, and I walked by a gentleman, and he said to me, so what did you shave your head in honor of? And it stopped me, and I smiled at him, and I said, I'm involved with a show, and it's Autism Awareness Month. We're doing a thing called Compassion in Action, and so I shaved my head for a young dad with cancer. And he nodded, and he said, what kind of cancer does this dad have? And I said, he has brain cancer. And the dad said, we lost our daughter to brain cancer. Right? Just totally took my breath away. And I asked a question about his daughter, and he kind of smiled or nodded, and he said, tell me about this dad. And so I was telling him about Ryan Oaf and his valiant ongoing battle, and about the fact that he was looking for people in his church to shave their head, and a bunch of men did, but no women did, and that I felt like in this world, there are so many things I'd like to do that I can't do, but this was something I could do. I could be the one woman to shave my head, and we had an appreciation for that. And then I asked him about his daughter, and I said, how old was your daughter? And he said 7. And it totally took my breath away. And I said, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. And I said, do you have other children? I hope you have other children, which seems like a ridiculous thing to say. And he said, yes, we're here with my son who just turned 6. We're here to celebrate his 6th birthday. The last time we were here was to celebrate the fact that my daughter had finished chemo. So, it's a poignant time. And I saw his son, over in the Lego line, and we continued to talk a little bit, and he told me, I asked, how are you doing? Because I can't even imagine. And he said that he and his wife were getting ready to learn how to lead a group, a support group for parents who have children with brain tumors. And at that point, my son walked up and said, Mom, who is this man that you're talking to? And kind of rudely interrupted, right? And I said, this gentleman very nicely asked me why I shaved my head, and we've been having a very nice conversation about that. And I introduced my son to the man, and I don't think he had heard the part where I had said about autism awareness, right? Because it was a very quick conversation. And so he started talking to my son, and my son was answering him, but we were in a big sensory place, and my son was looking at the floor, and I could tell in this dad that he sensed that something just wasn't quite working, right? That there was just something weird. And then I, of course, being the parent that I am, said, you're not looking at him. You need to look at him when you're talking to him. Remember, people like to see your eyes. And in that moment, I saw the dad get it, that he was like, oh, right, you said autism. And And then there was a shift in him, and he continued to talk to my son, but it was different. You know, he got extra patient, and he looked at me, and we had that moment where I saw that he had a recognition. There was a moment of compassion in him where he saw and thought, oh, you got your own stuff going on. You've not had an easy time of it either. And I looked back at him and thought, yes, but I have not gone through what you have gone through. You know, and it was that silent sort of moment. And he said to me, he said, you're doing a great job. And I said, you are too. You are too. And it was just this, you know, total strangers in a Lego store having a moment, right? Such respect that I had for this man. And you know, my husband said, what just happened? I don't know what I just walked into, but what just happened? I said, I'll tell you when we get in the car. And it reminded me that you know, people have a variety of things going on. And you know that old saying they have about if everybody were to take all the troubles and stick them in a basket and pass them around to everybody else, we would all take our own troubles back. So just an amazing, amazing moment that I wanted to share because how lucky I felt for so many reasons as we walked away, and how much this man and his family were in my thoughts last night. In any case, we just in one evening, all that. We have a very special guest that we're going to be joined in, so we're going to take a break and come back with Rich Everts from the United States of Autism, a very important film that's opening all around the country in special screenings, and hopefully you can get to one in your area. So stick with us. You're going to want to hear what Rich has to say.
Have you ever had a birthday wish that would take a miracle to come true? Well, this is a story about those miracles. This one starts in the remote mountains of Pennsylvania, in a house my pop and Grammy built with their bare hands. And throughout my school years, I was the constant new kid, attending 10 different schools in 9 years until I somehow landed in one of the top boarding schools in the world. Well, that opened the door to college, where I met my future wife freshman year. And after that tornado met this volcano, we had Tommy our junior year. Over the next 12 years, I went through 15 different jobs, had 2 failed businesses, and went bankrupt. And through all of that, nothing hurt like when my son stopped speaking at the age of 2. He's been silent now for nearly a decade, and even still, he's so full of life. For him, I decided to take a trip across America, covering 11,000 miles in 40 days, speaking with families and individuals in 5 different languages who deal with this thing called autism personally every day. What I found is far greater than any one man's story, and now I understand. It can only be told in a place called America.
Some say that life you can't rewind, even when time is on your side. Some say that pain, it makes you strong, and you find the strength to carry on. Some say what's lost is never found, but I know your love comes back around. I know your love is all around. Always your love comes back around.
Welcome back. So you just saw that amazing trailer for the United States of Autism, and we have the filmmaker, an autism dad, on the phone with us via Skype, and it's Rich Everts. Rich, thank you for being willing to talk to us today, because you had to pull over on the side of the road. Tell the folks who are listening and watching where it is you're on your way to.
I'm actually on my way to Burlington, Vermont, from around Philadelphia, so it's about an 8-hour drive. And I can feel the temperature dropping every mile that I drive.
I can't even imagine, because it's still that time of year there, where it can get cold all of a sudden and snow all of a sudden. And so what's happening in Burlington, Vermont tonight that you need to be there?
Well, actually, someone named Ann Barbarano, who runs a radio show out in Vermont, wanted me to come out and do a showing up in Merrill's Roxy Cinema, which is a historic cinema up in Vermont. And they arranged it, put it all together, and I told them I'd be there if they can put it together, and they did, and so here I am.
Well, that is awesome. So they just saw the trailer, but let's back up a little bit and talk about what inspired you to make this film.
Well, my son is on the autism spectrum. He's 14 now, and my wife and I have gone through this journey a lot together, trying to figure everything out along the way. And, with all of our experience, we run a foundation for autism as well. We knew that, there are multiple forms of autism. There's a lot of discord within the autism community going on, and we wanted to be able to bring people together. And my wife came up with the idea of, hey, let's do a film. And originally we were going to do a small documentary up in the Northeast. And then we actually got a lot of funding through the Pepsi Refresh Project contest, where we won about $50,000 to make the film. And that really spurred us to do a national movie.
Love it. And, so often we get things from people asking us to vote on the Pepsi Refresh, and we do, but it's very rare that somebody from the autism community wins.
Yes.
So kudos to you for getting it done, because it's hard. That's a hard thing to win, and we love that Pepsi gives to organizations and lets people vote. So a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm thrilled that you won and that it really made a difference. What part of the country do you actually live in?
Well, I live in a place called Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is home of the Amish and the Mennonites. It's about an hour and a half west of Philadelphia.
Okay. And you've got a list. If people go to your website, usofautism.com, have I got that right?
That's right.
And we've got it up on the screen, too. So if people go to your site, they can click on the tab that says screenings, and you've got an amazing number of screenings that are happening in the month of April, really all over the country. You must be something of a logistical wizard to have arranged all of this. Did you have some help to make this happen?
Yeah, of course we had some help. We work through a service called Tug, which is a brand new service around the country, and they help us book the theaters everywhere we go. I think we only have 3 or 4 theaters that were independent outside of that. And so, yeah, April's already booked up. We're starting to book up May. I wish I could tell your listeners that's the most up-to-date list, but we are literally adding cities every day.
Okay.
And I'm doing my best to keep it up to date. So.
Okay, but I'm going to just scroll through some of the dates here. You're in Burlington tonight. In 2 nights, you're in Albany at the Proctor's Theater in New York. It's actually Schenectady, and you've got that on your list here. On the 14th, you're in Minnesota. On the 18th in Florida, in Oldsmar, Florida. Then you go on the 18th, you're also in New Jersey. On the 18th in Salt Lake City at the same time, and in Schaumburg, Illinois. I've got friends there. We'll let them know. Springfield, Pennsylvania on the 18th. That's a big, big day for you. Then Evanston, Illinois on the 22nd. On the 23rd, you're in Champaign, Illinois, and you're here in Los Angeles. Then on the 24th, Epping, New Hampshire, and Concord, North Carolina, Gainesville, Georgia. 25th, also in Huntington, New York, and Plano, Texas, and Santa Clara, California. And then the list goes on. So wherever you are in the world, I would encourage you to check out and see if you can get to a screening of this. But Rich, you also are encouraging people to partner with an autism organization and do a screening with you, correct?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things that we're doing, we really believe that we should be putting money back into local autism communities, especially when we do any kind of fundraising or anything. So we're giving 25% back of our net proceeds from every showing back into a local family, an organization, or even an individual there that could require our help. We worked with families. We worked with individuals who are trying to raise money for, a service dog for someone in the local community, to large organizations like National Autism Association or the Autism Society of America, who are doing things locally for their programs. We can donate some money there. And so if people make a request and they bring it to their city and they sell enough tickets, and we love to give some money back to people. So
well,
that's
I love that.
what we're doing.
And it's not unreasonable what you're asking, because you're only asking that they be able to sell 45 tickets, correct?
Well, it can vary from city to city. It depends. There's a lot of factors that play into it. I've seen it go from anywhere from the 45 in some cities up to 70 or 80. So somewhere in that range. Really,
still reasonable.
People who are committed to do it, we have not had a single showing not reach its threshold.
Okay, and here's what I'll say to you too. If you are watching and you have an organization that you want to do this with and partner with Rich to have a screening, we will announce it here on the show when you're doing it, so that you, and make a little clip for it so that you can put it on your website so that you can promote it as well, because that should happen. More people should see this film. And we should say you met with 20 different families in 40 days in the United States, and every different ethnic background. I mean, you really got a snapshot of autism in the United States. It's quite amazing.
Well, thank you. I mean, we really try to make that our effort, and there's a lot of diversity in the film, 5 first languages. You're going to see a lot of not every, but almost every ethnicity, race, religion. We really try to show that autism affects everyone out there. And just so your listeners are aware, I'm actually going to be at the LA showing on the 23rd doing a Q&A. I love to meet people. If anybody wants to come out to the LA showing, they can get their tickets now. And I would definitely love to meet as many people as I can there.
And I want to be there so badly. I was just saying to Rich before that it is the night of my son's choir concert. So I cannot be there. But, the good news about that is that we're going to arrange another showing. I'm going to hook you up with ACT today, and we'll get another showing out here in LA. Because I want to come, and I want to meet you. And we'll talk about whether we can get you in the studio then or on Tuesday. But, Rich, I thank you. I know you got to get back on the road to get up to New Hampshire. No, Vermont. You're going to Vermont. They're so close. They're closely related.
It's all the same.
I'm from upstate New York, so I should know better.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for making this incredible film. And stay in touch with us, because let's get another showing going in LA.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and I hope everybody has a great April.
Thank you so much. You take care and drive safe.
Will do.
Bye-bye. So that was Rich Everts on the line with us, an amazing autism dad who's getting it done out there in the car, driving to Burlington, Vermont tonight to that special showing. And if you want more information, it's usofautism.com. So definitely check that out and go. I know I'm going to work on helping to create another screening here in Los Angeles because I want to see the full film. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, and we're running a little bit behind, so we apologize, but we're going to have Rose Morris from The Safety Sleeper, an amazing autism mom and an inventor who has created something that if you have a child who elopes in the middle of the night, you're going to want to hear about this. Stick with us.
You say hi, we say hi. Let's get wild, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman. We're here doing allergy-free cooking, and I brought my sister with me today.
Jamie Davis, thanks for having me.
A lot of people are asking about a allergy-free breakfast, and breakfast can be full of crap.
But it's full of crap, and it's hard to do. We don't have time in the morning. We're in a hurry.
We're going completely nut-free. The recipe is not
personality. We can't do anything about.
Yeah, can't do anything about that. So we're going to start off first with. I'm using sorghum and brown rice flour. I find the texture good, and I've added some flaxseed meal. We talked about that last time, flaxseed meal for poop. Almost every one of our kids has a poop issue. What's next on the recipe is the quinoa flakes, baking powder, cinnamon, and the xanthan gum. It brings the glutinous texture back into the flour, and often what happens with these recipes is they can fall apart. This one holds up nicely. I like it. For the folks that are egg-free, we have a ton of egg replacers. One of those can be the arrowroot starch or bringing back some additional flax seeds. So there's a lot of options to go eggless, but we're going to go egg-full in this one. For sweetener, I use the maple syrup. I stay away from refined sugar. What I'm adding now is the coconut milk, maple syrup, and a little bit of the coconut oil. And we're going to add in the raisins, craisins, and chocolate chips at the end. I find that chocolate chips can coax people to eat some really amazing things. When we started, Jeff had 42 food allergies, so we had to get creative in how we cooked. So nuts were a big, big issue. What I like now is that he can tolerate so many more things after start doing this diet. So let me show you how you can deal with this sticky stuff here. You get your fingers really wet, and you can push it down. So my oven has been preheated. It's at 350 degrees. So we're going to just throw this in. Like I said, I like it around 23 minutes, and the magic oven says, I'm done. Looks like. Don't you love magic ovens? They're awesome. There we go. Pops right out. The texture of these, and it's so pretty. It looks almost like a big chocolate chip cookie, but you actually made it healthy. But you can be my guinea pig. Tell me what you think.
It looks really good.
Doesn't it? So the textures and the colors in there are just beautiful. So the raisins are for you, the chocolate chips are for your kid.
I can't believe it's gluten-free.
I know, right? It doesn't taste like, crap. We're wrapping up another cooking show. If you have feedback, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. We're, of course, on Facebook. You could go to facebook.com/autismlive. And, of course, Talkin' Now has thousands of recipes. Join me there, and we can cook some more later on. So thanks for joining us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have joining us via Skype right now an awesome autism mom. This is the kind of autism mom that I love to talk to because I love working with intelligent women, and this is an intelligent woman I know because she saw a need and she filled it. So we've got Rose Morris with us. Rose, are you there? You are. So thrilled to have you on. And you've invented something called the Safety Sleeper. Tell everybody who's watching what the Safety Sleeper does and who should be using it.
Well, the Safety Sleeper is a portable and fully enclosed bed system that provides safety and security for children and adults that are living with special needs and disabilities. Our product is primarily used to help families care for loved ones that have sleep issues, night wandering, seizures, other behaviors that could cause them to be at risk to themselves when they're not supervised constantly. Many caretakers suffer with lack of sleep because they're unable to get the rest they need, and therefore are not able to be, their best. We sometimes, I think, diminish how important sleep really is until we are in the situation where we're not getting a full night's sleep. So our product provides a safe and secure environment throughout the night for a child or adult, and that allows the caregiver to hopefully get a restful night's sleep.
Great. And, you brought up so many things that I hadn't necessarily thought about. I've thought about the escape issue, that some of our children elope and get up, and you can't sleep peacefully if you're afraid your child's going to do that. But I hadn't thought about all the families that deal with seizure issues and making sure that the child is safe and stays in the bed and doesn't fall out or hit their head on the headboard. I have to say, it's a very handsome product. It's very cute because it's got that look to it that it feels like fun. It feels like a camping thing, and they're colorful. But what are some of the different features about it that make it so? What's different? How does it differ from a tent, and how does it make it safe for the child?
Okay, so it only sort of looks like a tent, and that's about all it has in common with the tent.
Yeah.
It is enclosed. The zippers are designed so that they're only accessible from the outside. So a child cannot unzip them from the inside. The zippers are self-locking, but we also have an extra locking system because so many of these kids are little geniuses and little Houdinis. Yes. So we have an extra locking system on the outside. We house it different from a tent.
Yeah, and these can fit on virtually any bed, correct, Rose?
Correct. We make them for a twin size or a regular full size, but we can also modify them because, parents with special needs, children have a wide variety of special needs. So some of them have medical beds, and those mattresses are actually a different size.
Okay.
So we do modify. We sell to customers overseas, too. This isn't just, for the U.S. We want to help anybody who has an issue. We want to try to help them. So we will customize the safety sleeper based on the mattress that you have.
And I have to say, what I also love about this is that it travels very easily. So if you're going and staying in a hotel, or you're going and staying with relatives, it's a way of making sure that your child is safe there, but also ensuring that they are comfortable. Because if they're used to sleeping in their bed, it's going to be much easier to put a child to bed in that environment and take it with you, right?
Yes, they get to take their own bed. You know, so many times, you know, especially, you know, with autism, the kids get used to their way, their routine. You know, it's precise. And so you've just taken their routine and their environment and you just moved locations.
Yeah.
So it really is beneficial for the child for that reason. It's also beneficial because, you know, a lot of these places, there's a lot of stereotypies. You know, there's visual stereotypies. Yeah. And our bed reduces those and helps the child then calm down and unwind and have an easier time going to sleep.
Well, it's so clever. It's so smart. How did you come up with the idea to do this?
Well, it was out of necessity, and we were just on vacation, and we were having a really hard time. Abram was getting out of everything. At home, we had a specific item. We had a crib and a crib tent. Mm-hmm. It was working great, but when we traveled, we couldn't take a whole crib.
Yeah.
So, like I said, he was getting out of everything. Everywhere we went to 2 different families' homes that summer to vacation, and nobody could keep Abram contained, and he would physically hurt himself to stay awake. The more tired he got, the more he would spin, bang into walls, stuff like that. So it was getting dangerous, and he wouldn't cuddle with us. He wouldn't lay down with us. He was like the Energizer bunny that wouldn't turn off. So we were in Dallas, and we were with some friends, and they had a business building some boat covers. And my friend Mark said, I think I could build something for you. And I think I told him to shut up. Don't you see?
That's how all good ideas start, by the way, that you say, no, and then the idea comes back. So I love that.
Kind of like a put your money where your mouth is. Yeah, and so they went down and, you know, I said what it needed to have and what it didn't need to have and what I liked and didn't like, and Abram was getting bigger. I needed, you know, a twin or something that would grow with him. So my husband and him went down to their shop and they drew something out and they made something. We went back to Pittsburgh, and Abram annihilated the crib tent and just showed me that he would own me and he would own sleeping. He made a hole, got out of it, and got back in as if to say, ha ha, I can do what I want. And I was in tears. My husband was out of town. I called Mark and said, you know that thing we were talking about? Do you think you could make it for me and I'll try it? He said, I already have it made. I'll send it to you. And I'm telling you, the day I got it, oh my gosh, I really feel like, seriously, there were weights right here, and they just came off of me. And somebody picked that weight up off of me. It was the strangest life moment I've had.
I can imagine. I really can, because I've been a sleep-deprived mom and been worried. So I think this is so important. And we know, studies have shown that roughly 50% of children on the autism spectrum will elope at some point. And the idea that that could be in the middle of the night keeps a lot of us awake. I'm sure that you've heard stories and testimonials from families. What kinds of things are they saying to you after they use the safety sleeper?
Oh my gosh, they tell us how their child took to it, how great it was, how it exceeded their expectations, how their children, you know, a lot of them, it seems to be they kind of have like a OCD sort of attitude. You know, if I can get out, I need to get out. There's a way to get out. This bed seems to calm them, take away all those stereotypies, all those things. You know, if you can't get out, that's one thing you don't have to worry about.
Right.
It calms them. I don't know why or how exactly. I haven't done a study on the why or how, but it helps.
But we talk all the time about how an environment has the ability, even for us as adults who aren't on the spectrum, an environment can calm us or excite us. And you've created an environment that reduces sensory input so that they can simply rest. It's very clever, Rose. I congratulate you on it. And I got to know how, and we have to tell our viewers, how can a parent get one of these safety sleepers?
Well, we have a website, and it's just simply thesafetysleeper.com. You can call us. Our number is 724-96-SLEEP, all spelled out, nice and easy to remember, and we'll take care of you. We have a We have a wonderful staff here who is committed to helping families, and that's our main goal.
Wonderful.
You can order them straight online. We have had some success getting insurance to cover this.
Nice.
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of durable medical equipment companies, and we've got several that we've worked with multiple times. So if a family would just call, let us know what their situation is, we can try to hook them up with a DME in their area to get them the help that they need to get this bed covered.
And you mentioned you can customize it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes there are extra fees to customize because, we may have to make a different pattern. It takes us more time.
Sure.
But we definitely will customize.
Okay.
And then,
tell us the phone number one more time if they want to call you.
Okay. 724-96-SLEEP. SLEEP.
Okay, great. Rose, really remarkable story. How's your son doing now?
Oh, he is great. He's verbal. He's in a regular classroom. He has, some learning support. He still tries to own me in other areas. But, we tackle that as they come.
That's called intelligence. That's what that is.
That's called just being a child. They all test us. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, such a pleasure to talk to such a smart mom. This is a smart product, and I know you're changing lives, and we're glad to let other people know so that if you need this, if you need to get some rest and you're worried about your child, whether it's seizures or elopement, great product made, and you're helping a family that is an autism family. This is an autism family business, so reach out to them at safetysleeper.com. Thank you so much, Rose. You have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was Rose Morris, wonderful, wonderful mom with a great product that she's invented. As I said, if it's something that you need, here's the thing about being sleep deprived is that sometimes you don't even realize how badly sleep deprived you are. But if you're in any way not getting a full night's sleep because you're concerned about your child, call them. See if you can get your insurance to cover it. See what you can do. But don't be at risk for your health and don't let your child be at risk for elopement, right? There are answers out there. Rose has come up with a brilliant invention. All right, we have to take a break and go to the A Word. This is an amazing documentary that's being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy named Jack Riley as he makes his way through autism. Diagnosed at the age of 2, he's having early intervention, and we see a tremendous amount of growth from this little boy. So many different things that he's working on. So take a look. This is the A Word.
A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W.
Talking a lot this morning.
Now I down my pieces. Next time.
Won't you?
No say sleep.
That's right, kiddo. Very good. Hey, Jack Riley, one more minute. Say okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you want to play something else for now? What do you want to play?
Pancake.
You want to play pancakes? Oh, is this the sign for pancakes? What do you want to work for, Jack Riley? Do you want to work for puzzle, for trains, for jumping on the bed? What do you want to work for? More jumping? Okay.
Pancake. Pancake.
Okay. Sit down here, though.
Pancake.
You want pancakes? Can you say that better? Say, I want pancakes.
I want pancake.
Should we go see where the pancakes are then? Okay, all right. Let's go find Dad. Come on. Come with me. Walk with me. And we'll go find Dad, okay? All right. Can you open the door? Turn. There you go. Nice. Let's go see where those pancakes are. Say, I'm hungry. Let's see. Quick questions, okay? All right. Okay, look. Okay. What's your name? What's your name? Nice job. How old are you?
8.
Good job. Sit down, though. Okay. Where do you live?
Jessica teaches Jack Riley other social ID questions such as where do you live and what's your last name.
There you go. Nice job. Here you go. Slow down. There you go. Hi.
You look cute. I love you.
Group kiss. Group kiss. Ready? 1, 2. Oh, nice hands.
Nice hands. Nice hands. Nice hands. That's
Nice hands.
Nice hands get you more attention than bad hands.
Big brother. Who's big brother?
Who's a big brother? Yes.
Where's the little sister?
Where's little sister?
Where? Is she here? Is that
Right
little sister?
here.
There
Right,
she
that's
is.
right.
Can she have a kiss? Can little sister have a kiss? Thank you.
I hope.
Jack Riley is needing less prompting to appropriately gain attention. Jessica only gestures to get him to ask. They introduced the skill about 7 weeks ago, and it's becoming less contrived and is occurring naturally in situations. Here's a look from 7 weeks ago, when Jessica first introduced gaining attention. In the beginning, she tempts Jack Riley with an item he wants, then prompts him the whole way, gesturing and physically showing him what to do and what to say.
Jessica. I want pancakes. Want pancakes. Hey, look at me when you say it. Say, I want pancakes. Want pancakes.
As time goes by and the skill becomes more natural, the prompting will completely fade away.
Ready? Okay, show them how you can use a straw. You gotta go all the way. Show me. There you go. Good job.
Feeding used to be very time-consuming and difficult for Cheryl and Mike. Jack Riley would swat away food fed to him and would refuse to self-feed. He now feeds himself and even uses a fork. His diet, though, is still limited, but it's growing. Drinking has also been an issue for Jack Riley. He's typically only drank out of baby bottles or bottles with a hard nipple top. They've tried getting Jack Riley to drink from a cup, but every time they would present it, he would try to lap it up like a cat, anticipating all the fluid to come rushing at him. Now they have introduced drinking from a straw, so he has an item to drink from that is age appropriate.
Now suck it up. You want to do that again? Yeah. Want to do that again? One more time. One more time, and then you can play. Yay! Very good, Jack. Here you go.
You guys got that exact same pitch level there. I don't know how you duplicate.
Do you want the purple iPhone? Okay.
Okay. What's the matter?
You can have applesauce.
Hey.
You can have it. You can have it. Come here. Can you show me? Bite for mommy. Your turn. Do you know? Jack say, I don't want banana. Okay. What do you want then? What do you want then? I want. Okay. We have a spoon, Daddy.
One of the food items Jack Riley eats a lot of are bananas. For some reason, though, seeing a banana really upsets Jack Riley. He enjoys eating it, but hates the sight of it. One of the issues is that biting solid food is very aversive to him.
Fear of the banana. Someday we'll tell him he eats one every day.
More awareness than it was in the yogurt, so we have to go in baby steps with it. That's fine with me.
This is history. I might drink the whole thing.
With like no prompting, no. Yeah, you're right. Okay, kiddos. See ya. Have a good weekend. Say thanks, Miss Jessica. You say bye. You say bye, Jessica.
Look at her. Where is Jessica? Where is Jessica? There she is.
Thank you. Oh, thanks. Just in case you were wondering.
You're Jessica. You are.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a great weekend, Jessica.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I asked Rose Morris to stick with us because we had a comment that came in. There was a couple of more things that we wanted to talk about. So we still have on the line Rose Morris from the Safety Sleeper. Thank you, Rose, for sticking with us. But we had this comment come in about the Safety Sleeper. Somebody wrote in and said, love this bed idea. My son loves to be in enclosed places. It relaxes him. He will crawl into his pop-up tent. He will sit under the laundry basket. This might help a lot of people. Awesome idea. And so I shared that with you, Rose, and thank you for writing that in. And we both realized that we needed to talk a little bit more about what the difference is between the Safety Sleeper and a tent, because it's a vastly different thing. It's made out of different materials, correct?
Correct, absolutely. We worked really hard with a manufacturer to manufacture this material for us. It's fire retardant. It's created to our specific colors. It is strong, durable. It won't fray. Machine washable. It's different than a tent. I have people that call us that have gotten, just a tent or something less expensive, and the items can tear apart because these kids can be pretty rough and they're up a lot. So our materials are strong, high quality, and we back up our workmanship. We'll fix or repair, replace if you have an issue. That's a lot different than a lot of the tent companies. Yeah, and
it should be noted that this is specifically designed to be used indoors on the child's bed to keep them safe. It's specifically designed for that, where tents are designed for other uses. So while it may resemble a tent in some respects, the similarities end there. And I also have to say that you recently won an award. Tell us what award you won.
Right. I won an award for community service in Pittsburgh. It was by the Women's Small Business Association. We work with Fund It Forward. I co-founded the nonprofit to help families get medical equipment, not just this bed. If you need seizure monitors, strollers, wheelchairs, if you need a piece of equipment and insurance won't cover it, then come to us and we'll help you.
Well, that's a really important thing. And you also had mentioned during the break that when people call you, if they're calling you and their insurance won't cover the bed and it's completely outside of the possibility for them to be able to afford it, that there is a possibility that they can work it out through that nonprofit that you've organized.
Absolutely. We're more concerned with the family getting the bed that needs the bed or any piece of equipment than we are, red tape and bureaucracy.
Well, Rose, you're my kind of people. We love that. So if, as we said before, if you need this bed, call them and tell them the number that they can call again, Rose.
724-96-SLEEP. Somebody wrote it down for me. That's 967-5337.
Okay, and they can also go to www.safetysleeper.com, correct?
Yes.
Safety Sleeper. Okay. All right. Thank you for sticking around, Rose, to clear all that up. And we appreciate you, and let us know how things go.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. You take care.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're going to take a shorter break, and we're going to come back with Angela Persicke because it is time for Breaking It Down with Angela. Stick with us.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, where is he? What is he doing? Is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle, and without that, they wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. We underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back. We are here right now with Angela Persicke, but I want to remind everybody before we start to talk about what we're going to talk about, because we've got fun stuff to talk about, that the hours are winding down. You should sign up right now today for the webinars that are being done by Yolanda Baker for Bite Your Bills. She has written this amazing book, and I don't have it here with me in the studio because it's by my desk because I've been poring over it. It's tax time, and I don't know about all of you, but I'm wanting to save some money on my taxes, and she has really written a very manageable manual for us to get started towards having more money to use for the kinds of things that we want to use it for. So you want to get money back on medical expenses. You want to get the most bang for your buck with your insurance company. Yolanda's book is about that. And then tomorrow she's doing 2 free webinars that you can sign up for by going to biteyourbills.com. These are webinars to help you. She's going to be answering questions, showing you some things that you can do to save money on your taxes. It's not too late for this year. If you're like me, a last-minute Lulu, working on the taxes right now, I guarantee you this book, it's helping me a lot and really changing my mind about how we're organizing some of our financial information because it's not saving us money. So I encourage you to check out the book, but definitely sign up for the webinars. They're free. What have you got to lose? If the times don't work for you, put in a request for Yolanda because she's going to be doing some more next week. week. So biteyourbills.com, go there and do that. Yolanda is amazing and an autism mom, so great information. But here in the studio right now, we have the lovely Angela Persicke. You're a BCBA, a board-certified behavior analyst who has extensive experience working with children. You are the co-director? No,
assistant director.
The assistant director. I just gave you an upgrade, a promotion, and I hope a pay raise comes with it. Of the Autism Research,
Autism Research Group.
Okay. I don't know where my head just went. The air conditioning turned on, and I'm getting a breeze on the head, and it's like every thought left me. But, and you also are someone who works in research here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. So you are a wealth of knowledge, and if people have questions for you, you can be writing them in right now. And you guys have an event, the Autism Research Group, coming up very soon that we want to let everybody know about. So tell us.
Yes, it's an Advanced Behavioral Interventions Workshop, and this is our second one. Our first one was held in January in Van Nuys in LA, and this one will be in San Diego, California, at the Catamaran Resort and Casino, or not casino, resort, and it's just a really great place, a really great hotel, and we're branching out a little bit to provide this workshop to other individuals in Southern California who are able to come and make it. And it's primarily for professionals or teachers, anyone working with children with autism, because it's focused on teaching advanced cognition and executive functioning skills.
Okay, cool.
But we welcome parents, anyone in the community who's interested to learn about these. And the talks are specifically focused on first discussing the research on these treatments. So first, behavioral research on treating theory of mind deficits, perspective-taking deficits with children with autism. And then we'll go into practical strategies.
Love it.
So it's a workshop where more hands-on, you will learn these skills and go over vignettes of children who may have deficits in different areas and how we would go about teaching them.
Awesome. You know, I'm so struck being here and all the different things that I get to hear by the fact that we have this huge spectrum with autism, with different abilities, and every day I learn all these things, all this more work that we need to do to educate people to understand, because not only is it just autism awareness, but we need to give awareness to teachers and practitioners about teaching all the different individuals on the spectrum. And we get excited when kids are on the higher end of the spectrum. As parents, we get excited each time they add a new skill, but it's a whole little niche where we need to prepare our educators and our practitioners for those skills, executive function skills, to be able to teach our kids how to get to the next place.
Exactly.
It's never enough, right? And so I love that you guys are going to be doing that, teaching those all-important skills, because I don't think a great many people are out there teaching that.
Yeah, it's, this is what is so special about the skills curriculum as well, is that it includes executive functions and cognition and how to teach these different skills. And so we're offering this to the community, and for BCBAs, you can get continuing education units as well as LSWs, licensed social workers, that is, and marriage and family therapists. There are CEs available for all these people. And to find out more information about it or to register, you can visit autismresearchgroup.org. And right on the home page, you'll see a link to go to the page to register.
Awesome. So, and what is the date of the event again?
It is April 29th, so a few weeks from now.
And in San Diego?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. I have to say before we start that we were talking about taxes before, and someone has kindly written in and said, ha, 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 ha. Just dropped my taxes off to our accountant yesterday. LOL, you are not alone, Shannon. I really, honestly, I was on Facebook this morning and scrolling through, as I often do in the morning as I'm waking up, to see, what's going on in the autism community. And there were so many people who were saying, okay, getting started on the taxes, and other people who don't have kids on the spectrum who were saying, really? Because, we did this so long ago. Well, you don't have children on the spectrum, because we had other things things that we were doing. We like to wait till Autism Awareness Month to do it, right?
Of course.
In the last minute. But do want to encourage people, if you're doing it last minute, Yolanda had some great tips for us to tell our tax professionals that they might not be aware of for our kids that are on the spectrum. So do check out her website. She's got a wonderful array of information. That's biteyourbills.com. And honestly, information about what to do for next year to save more money. She saved $28,000.
That's amazing.
You know, I keep thinking, what can I do with $28,000?
Yeah.
There's a lot I could do with $28,000. So, all right. Anyway, we wanted to talk with you today about the fact that on Tuesday, our jargon of the day was antecedent.
Great.
And you had said that you had some, because we briefly mentioned that there are things that you can do to manipulate antecedents. So remind our viewers at home, from somebody who actually knows what they're saying, what an antecedent is.
Okay, we refer to an antecedent as anything that's occurring immediately before the behavior occurs. So it could be something that's signaling the behavior, or a stimulus in the environment that evokes the behavior. So anything from saying something to your child that if it's for attention or escape, giving a demand. So anything like that happens right before the behavior occurs.
Yeah, and there's always an antecedent, right?
Always.
Always. Whether it's a behavior that you like and that you want to see more of, or if it's a behavior that is really challenging that you wish would go away, there's always an antecedent. Something happens. The example that I was told that when I really got it was that every day, at some point, we get up and turn a light on in our house. Like, we might be sitting there reading a book, and the light changes, and there's a moment when we get up and flick on a light switch because we want to be able to see. So the behavior is the turning on the lights, but the antecedent would be that it got uncomfortable for us to be able to see. So we're all engaged in this constantly. We're all engaged in behavior, and there is always an antecedent before a behavior.
Exactly.
Fascinating, because it really is a little bit like the Matrix, where you go, okay, I hadn't really looked at the world that way before. And by the way, for our kids on the autism spectrum, there's an antecedent for every behavior that they do as well, correct?
Exactly.
See, and that's, if you had said that to me on day one of autism, I'm sure I would have said, what you talking about, Willis? Because I honestly would describe to people and say, my child does these weird, bizarre behaviors, and people would say, why? And I would say, there's no reason. They're just random behaviors happening in space. Nothing is happening that's encouraging them or discouraging them. And you guys taught me to look at it in a different way.
Exactly. We always emphasize that there's something that happens right before the behavior occurs and something that happens after. It's not always just this little unit in time. It could be very continuous, like everything is always changing, always happening. Stimuli are always being presented.
Yes.
People are always behaving.
Yes.
And so sometimes when we talk about it this way, we try not to pull it out of the whole context and say, like, this is just what's happening right now and this is the only thing that matters, because that's definitely not true.
Okay.
But it does help us to identify what is signaling the behavior, and then what is the payoff afterwards. What's the consequence? What is the child getting from this? Like, and even if you go back to your example of the light switch, and you said the antecedent is some kind of lighting condition that makes it uncomfortable, you go engage in the behavior of flipping on the light, and then the payoff is that it's not uncomfortable anymore. Right. So there are always these events occurring right before and right after, and this is the way we evaluate what is going on and why is the child behaving like this.
Right, because the power in it is that once you start looking at it that way, you realize we have very little power over the behavior itself, but we have tons of power over the antecedent, and we have tons of power over the consequence.
Exactly.
And this is when the light bulb goes off and you go, oh, the serenity prayer, it grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, I can't change the behavior. My son's too big at this point for me to say, stop doing that and wrestle him to the ground to make him do it, right? But I can change the antecedent, and I can change the consequence.
Exactly.
So you guys talk about antecedent modifications.
Yes, we do.
Fancy schmancy phrase for basically changing something that happens before.
Exactly, and there are various modifications that I'm going to talk about today.
Okay.
But it is important to note that these cannot occur alone.
Okay.
You cannot just change antecedents and expect everything to be fine. We do need to focus on consequences a lot of the time. You may be able to change some antecedent modifications and you may be able to see a difference.
Right.
But if the child is still getting the payoff for engaging in the behavior, you're not going to see a lot of the difference.
Okay, but it's another tool in your tool belt. These antecedent modifications.
And
what can you change beforehand that might alter the behavior?
And in your child's behavior intervention plans, you'll often see a section for these.
Yes.
Written in antecedent modifications, and a few that I want to mention: non-contingent reinforcement, demand fading, task modification. These are all fancy terms, and we can go through them separately.
We should do that. Should we take a break before we do that, or you want to say all of them first?
I'll just say them first. Behavioral momentum, and then functional communication training. Those are a few that I want to mention today. But these will all, most of the time, be included in your child's behavior intervention plan, along with the consequence manipulations.
Okay, so here's the thing that I want to say. All those terms that you just listed off, most of us think, okay. But here's why it's so important, because as she said, it's there in your child's behavior intervention plan, which is part of your child's IEP, we hope that they have a BIP with their IEP. We'll explain all of that. And this is the thing that makes the difference of who's interacting with your child and how they're interacting with them at school. So if you're feeling frustrated, like, why didn't the teacher do this instead of this? If it's in that BIP, that's the legal document, and you have legal recourse, the teacher has to do X, Y, or Z. This is what keeps your child safe. This is what keeps your child learning, and it makes a difference at home. Besides the document and what happens at school, it makes a difference for you at home. It's the difference between enjoying your child and being constantly frustrated. This is the real deal. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and break down, because it's breaking it down with Angela, break down those terms and let you know what they mean and why it's so important to you, and put more tools in that tool belt for you. So stick with us.
My name is Rocky.
Autism used to affect 1 in every 10,000 children. Now it affects 1 in every 91 kids.
TACA is one of 5 organizations helping families living with autism today.
Our kids came back to life. There's a whole community out there, and now we're a part of it.
Oh, TACA has a place for me.
To find TACA, go to www.tacanow.org.
Please.
Welcome back. We are here in the studio with Angela Persicke. She is a board-certified behavior analyst, and she's talking with us today about antecedent modification. Doing something, manipulating what happens before a behavior to help us to change and shape behavior.
Exactly.
So, and you just before we went to break listed a bunch of different things, scary little jargon terms that made all of our heads explode. But these are important things. So don't go away, because we're going to explain everything together. She's going to explain it, and I'm going to try to see if I can get it.
Okay.
And then and make sure that you guys get it. Okay, so start at the top. And
all right. I will start with my very favorite, non-contingent reinforcement, because who doesn't like just getting something for free, right?
Okay. And so that's what the non-contingent reinforcement is.
You are providing the reinforcer, whatever is functioning as a reinforcer for the child. So it's important to note that before this, you need to determine what the function of the behavior is.
Yes, always.
So, and we've discussed this before, just determining why is the child behaving like this? Is it for attention, escape, a tangible? Is it self-reinforcing or automatically reinforcing?
Yeah.
So
what's the paycheck for the behavior? The child's throwing a tantrum, they're getting a paycheck somewhere. I know it seems like they're not, but if you look closely, if they're doing it again and again and again, there's some sort of paycheck. They're getting out of something, they're getting you talking to them, even if it's negatively, they're getting something for doing it. So we need to know what that paycheck is. Otherwise, we're not going to know what to give them on a non-contingent basis.
Exactly. Okay. So let's just look at an example of attention. So if the child is screaming for attention.
Yeah.
You know, every time the child screams, the mom says, stop it, or don't do that, or comes into the room even, all these things for attention. What we do with non-contingent reinforcement to try to make it more likely that the behavior will not occur is to provide attention on a time-based schedule. So every, minute or every 5 minutes, come into the room with your child, just pat the child on the back, say, hi, how you doing, give eye contact. Just give that attention on this time-based schedule.
Yep. And I have to say, this, get your tool belt out. This is one of the most powerful tools that there is. If your child is very driven by attention and will get into things and you're 100% sure that it's about attention, a child who is needy in that way will do anything and they will take any kind of attention, and it can be a lifelong issue if they're not getting that bucket full. And if you put yourself on a timer and just give attention in the absence of all that behavior on a regular basis, so that, you might start with every 30 seconds and work your way up to every 30 minutes. I can tell you as a teacher, when somebody explained this to me as a teacher, it was life-changing. Not just for me, but for the kids in the classroom, because when you give attention on a regular basis to a child who is attention needy, it allows them to do things that they didn't know that they could do.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
And this is why it is my favorite. Well, one, you are changing your own behavior in a sense. And so it is kind of difficult because you're taking something that you were attributing to the child and the child's behavior, and you have to make your own modifications to your own behavior. So you have to, put a beeper on or a
timer.
We
all have cell phones with timers now.
Something like that to let you know, okay, it's time to go give attention, and no matter what you're doing, you have to drop what you're doing, go give that attention.
Yes.
And the idea behind this is that if the child is getting what he wants already, for free, then the child is less likely to engage in this problematic behavior in order to get that.
Right.
So you can also see by this, if you just start doing this, and the child is still engaging in high frequencies of a behavior, you can assume a couple things, that maybe it's not the function, one, then maybe the child isn't trying to get that type of attention. Maybe it's a different type of attention the child wants. Or also, you have to do something to the consequence.
Yes.
So, you could be providing more attention even after the behavior occurs.
There you go. Right. So in an instance where a child, you're giving that non-contingent reinforcement, you're every 4 minutes you're remembering to do something to give the child the attention, but if every 10 minutes they decide to throw something at a plate glass window and you start screaming at them, going, what did you do that for? And that's a lot more attention than nice job, then the child's still going to engage in the challenging behavior. Okay. So making sure, as you said, if you're doing the antecedent modification, it doesn't exist on its own. You have to make sure that you're not reinforcing the bad behavior as well.
And that's what I was saying, where it's important to not to include the consequences, and these will be in your BIP as well.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so non-contingent reinforcement, giving something to the child for no earthly reason, because you're making sure that it's getting there beforehand. We don't wait to feed our children until they're starving, right? We feed them on a regular basis before they're crying and saying, I'm hungry, because we don't want to get to that point. We can give attention and other things that way too.
Exactly.
But it's called non-contingent reinforcement. You don't have to remember that, but getting there beforehand.
We also will often refer to it as NCR for short.
Okay.
Too. So sometimes when you see this jargon, you'd be like, oh, okay, I know what that is.
I did not know that, so I learned something new. Great.
And also you can use this for sensory reinforcement too.
Yeah.
And this, the whole automatically reinforced behaviors, these are very difficult for us to deal with in general. But if you consider using non-contingent reinforcement, and if it's a visual stimming, that something visual is the sensory reinforcement that the child is trying to get, you can look for toys that are very visually reinforcing and provide those on a time-based schedule.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, you'll see the behavior reduce just because a child is getting more of this on a regular schedule. And also, you can make this more appropriate as well. So if a lot of times you'll see kids wave their fingers in front of their eyes to change that visual sensory perception, and you can get a toy that flashes or blinks or does something, but it's appropriate for your child to play with.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking about and a lot of times in school they put kids on what they call a sensory diet, that every 10 to 15 minutes that, the aide or some of the kids get brushed with a fine brush, other kids just get a squeeze, or they get to get up and walk around, whatever the sensory diet is that's appropriate, because we want to make sure that the child gets that diet on a regular basis so they don't get to meltdown status. So that would be non-contingent reinforcement.
Yeah, we would, a lot of times just refer to that as non-contingent reinforcement, because on a time-based schedule, your child is getting these sensory reinforcers. But also in that case, it's important to remember that to look at the function. If the function is automatic reinforcement, then that is appropriate to use. If the child, if the function is escape, you could see how this would be reinforcing for the child. And I've seen this before in some classrooms where the child, engages in a behavior, gets to escape by going to a sensory room or something like that. And so it's important to look at those different variables and to see, is the child behaving in this behavior or engaging in this behavior more frequently because of it? Because the goal for non-contingent reinforcement is to make the behavior less probable.
There you go. There you go. So very important. And we always come back to, if you don't know the function, then you're throwing, darts all over the room and hoping they're going to land. So important that you know the function of the behavior.
And you can sometimes go into a large classroom and see, you can pick out some kids who are really taking advantage of the system.
Oh, yes. Okay, so non-contingent reinforcement. What's next?
All right, so a couple different ones for the function of escape. We want to talk about demand fading and task modification, and these are just modifying different aspects of the demand of the task. So for demand fading, you are going to start with a like one demand. So if it's in a class with different worksheets, the child has to complete 3 worksheets before break, you bring it down to 1 worksheet.
Okay. So, and this is for the child who gets so overwhelmed by it that then they engage in behavior to get out of it.
Exactly.
Okay. So if we see that, instead of going, they're going to do it, and we're going to make them do it, and we're just going to suck it up and do it, what we can do is gently ramp up. So we don't ask as much in that moment.
And it's important for this, too, because you may think, they're still getting out of the full task. But what we're trying to do is shape the behavior. Start with something that we think will be okay for the child to complete. Like the child will engage in this, and you want to make sure it's at a level where you know that the child will most likely complete the task without any behaviors. But of course, you need your consequence manipulation, so extinction, escape, extinction, if that is the case, so you don't just reinforce the behavior if it occurs even with a lesser demand.
Okay, so in other words, if you say to yourself, all right, I've got 3 worksheets and the child's freaking out, so we got to change something, right? That's first. And you say to yourself, all right, we're gonna take it down to 1 worksheet. We think that's probable that the child still is freaking out. We're not going to give a break to reward the fact that they're freaking out to get out of it. We want to be reasonable, but we have to be really careful that we don't reward the behavior while we're being reasonable.
So this, again, to reiterate, is that you're changing something before the behavior would occur to make the behavior less probable. So we're thinking, okay, if we reduce the demand and give more frequent breaks in between, then the behavior is less likely to occur, but if it does occur, we need to have these consequence manipulations.
Okay. And I think sometimes, as parents, we get caught up in but he needs to do it, he or she needs to do it. And I like to think of it like a marathon. If I was going to learn to run a marathon, marathon, we would not expect me to go out and do even 6 miles today.
No.
That would be crazy, right? The only way that I could work up to doing a marathon is by starting and consistently working and adding a little bit at a time till we got to the point where I could run a marathon.
Exactly. Because what would happen if we just told you you're going to go run a marathon tomorrow? You'd probably try to escape, right?
Well, yes, I would, but I would escape by calling the ambulance just ahead of time.
Exactly.
Because that's where we would end up anyway. So, important that we remember that's the goal. The goal is to get him to do 3 worksheets, and we're not giving up on that, but the only way we're going to successfully get to 3 worksheets, because I'll tell you, this has happened in my home, is if you don't do it that way, because I've done this, that you say, we're going to muscle through and we're going to get the 3 worksheets, you end up not getting 1 worksheet done because now you got a tantrum to deal with. Right? And then you feel like raw meat and your child's upset and now you're going to get 3 worksheets done? It's not going to happen. So it's a different way of looking at things, but you do get there.
Yep.
Okay.
And right along these lines is task modification. And so this isn't decreasing the number of demands, but changing something about the task itself. So let's say we're doing math problems, right? And it's double-digit adding. Task modification would do the same amount of work, but single digit.
Okay.
Single digit adding. And so that then you slowly increase the number of items on the task to make it up to the more difficult level.
Okay.
So it's very similar, but you're not decreasing the amount of work. You're just decreasing some aspect of the task to make it a little easier for the child.
Right, because we want to be mindful. We need to set our kids up for success.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think, what the antecedent modifications do. They start to set our kids up for success.
Exactly.
Okay, well, should we take a break or should we soldier on?
We can take a break.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back to talk about some more of these antecedent modifications. We're wading through the jargon and figuring out, oh, that's what that means. That might be helpful to my child. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and this is my son, Jem. We're here today at the Home Depot. You might know that Home Depot is famous for giving free classes to adults on lots of things like tiling and other home crafts. Well, they also have free classes for kids as well. It's called the Kids Workshop. We love doing that, don't we, Jem?
Yeah.
It's cool. So come on inside with us and let's do a craft.
Yay.
The Kids Workshop is a program that's been around with Home Depot almost since we've been a company, and it's been developed to allow kids in the community to come in and give them an opportunity to build something, to be able to create something and be able to take just simple wood pieces and put them together with nails and hammers and screwdrivers and then paint them.
So you do this every first Saturday of the month.
Any Home Depot that you go to on the first Saturday of every month between 9 and 12, you can join different associates throughout different stores and build these projects with these kids.
And do they have to do anything beforehand, or can they just show up on that Saturday?
All they need to do is show up. We have all the tools, all the materials that the kids will need. We have aprons that we give to the kids that they can take home and maintain their pins. They get pins on a regular basis for completing projects. With that, they can keep track of how many projects they've done. And
it's all free.
It's all absolutely free, all provided.
Which is wonderful. And Wilson, I have to say, you guys devised this for all kids to be able to do this.
Correct.
What I particularly love about it as an autism mom, it gives my child a place to come and learn a new skill, to socialize with kids of all kinds.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. Home Depot is definitely loves to be involved with the community and bring the community in to work with us. That's what we love to do.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest right now, Angela Persicke, a board-certified behavior analyst. We're talking about antecedent modifications. We're wading through some intense jargon, but with good purpose, because these are things that help us to be able to set our kids up for success. Changing what happens before the behavior can sometimes greatly change the behavior, greatly diminish it, in some cases be part and parcel. We've talked about the fact that you have to have the consequence strategy on board as well, but you can really create some change for your child. So we talked a little bit about non-contingent reinforcement. We talked about task modification, and what was the other one?
Demand fading.
Demand fading. Okay. So what's left on our list of jargon?
So next, we call this behavioral momentum.
Yes.
Or high P, low P, which that stands for high probability first and then low probability behavior. So we're looking at introducing a number of instructions or tasks in a row with easy tasks first, the task that you think that the child will readily respond to, something that's learned, mastered, and then you introduce a more difficult task or instruction. And so I've used this before with teaching children new receptive instructions. So, touch your head, stand up, turn around, things like that. And so I would start with the ones that were already learned. So let's say the child knew touch your head, stand up, turn around, and then the newest one was clap your hands. And so that would be fourth in the sequence.
Right.
So I'd have the child engage in these three behaviors, and then the one that is newer and is being taught would be the fourth one. And so it just makes it so the child, that's why we call it behavioral momentum. It's like building up this momentum so the child will continue engaging in the behavior. And this is great for kids who engage in a lot of escape maintain behavior with new tasks. So say like or more difficult tasks, so that the ones that are easy for the child are more reinforcing because they know how to do it. They have received the reinforcer continuously in the past for engaging in these, and then there's a new task and it's hard, and maybe like you have to prompt the child through it a few times, and you'll see a lot of children start to resist and engage in a lot of problem behavior to get out of it. And so doing this, where having the child engage in these easy behaviors first, and then trying the more difficult one works really well.
Yeah. And we do this in our lives on a daily basis. And we do this with other adults on a daily basis. I mentioned the taxes. And, ramping up to do the taxes, because doing the taxes is a difficult thing, but gathering the paperwork, my husband and I have been giving each other assignments about, all right, we're just going to gather the paperwork together. And once that's all together, then I feel like, okay, I can sit down and do this. So we do this for ourselves, and we can be kind to our children and do this. It's a great teaching method. Of course, here's the random example that comes to mind for me that I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I watched a couple of minutes of that show Splash the other night. They have Louis Anderson, who admits that he weighs more than 400 pounds, and he's trying to learn how to do a flip to do into a swimming pool from a 40-meter board. I mean, that's crazy to me. That's crazy. 400 pounds, and you're going to try to, you couldn't get me to do it. No. But they didn't just say, hey, Louis, get up there, and now we're going to do a flip. They started with him rolling over on a mat. Right? And they built up his confidence. Well, you can do that, so you can do this. So I think we all use some form of this, and what a great tool to be able to use with our children.
It's great.
It really is very, very useful. And I think of how many times when Jem was little and we were having difficulty getting him to settle into a task, that they would use this and very quickly go back over the things that he knew really well and reward him for it, so that he got back into the compliance track. And got back into the right, you're my friend and we have a good interaction, and when I work with you and I do these things are well, so that then when they would get to the thing that was difficult, he just would slide into it.
That's great.
And so it really, behavior momentum. Okay.
All right, and finally, we're going to talk about functional communication training. And huge. We shorten this to FCT, another.
Okay. That's new to me. I didn't know all these little things that you guys have. I've heard of functional communication training, but tell us what that is.
So we use functional communication training as for teaching a more appropriate replacement behavior for engaging in another behavior. So if we have a problem behavior such as whenever the child wants a snack,
right,
and he just goes and lays down by the fridge and screams and cries,
right.
So the functional communication training is giving him some other behavior, replacement behavior that's more appropriate. And if the child doesn't have the words for it, it could just be a picture of a different snack, like even having, more of like a PEX board or different icons, and he just chooses one and gives it to mom. But the teaching of the replacement behavior is an antecedent modification.
There we go.
And so you're teaching the child that when he takes that and gives it to you, he gets the snack.
Yeah.
But you're not using that when right after the child's laying on the ground screaming and kicking, and you're like, choose your icon, and then gets the snack, because then what does he learn? He learns that when he screams and cries, you prompt him through it, and then he gets the snack.
Isn't it amazing? Can I tell you, we were at Disneyland last night, and we were having dinner and sitting outside on the patio having dinner, and there were all these families around us with children at different ages. And at a different point in the dinner, each family had a child start to cry. Because it happens, right? It happens. And my son has always been very attuned to other kids crying. And when the first little girl cried, he said, what's wrong? What's happening? That child is crying. What's going on? And we had a big discussion about the fact, something's going on. Like, it isn't just random. And I said to him, but look at her. Do you think she's being hurt? Right? Let's determine that, first of all. And about the fact that babies cry and they get something. So let's try to figure out what is it that baby is trying to get. And then he finally said to me, he said, but why doesn't she just ask for it? And I said, because she hasn't learned yet.
Perfect.
And that really is the thing. She hasn't learned how to ask for that. Well, honestly, I think with our kids with autism, we forget sometimes because we get embroiled in the whole, they have autism. But that moment of that communication is for the same reason. They just haven't learned how to ask for it in a different way. They haven't learned how to communicate it. So functional communication training, key.
It's key. It's part of every intervention, every early intervention program. We use functional communication training. And I can't emphasize enough not to do it, when not to do it. And that's, if the child is engaging in the behavior, you're not going to try to get them to use functional communication training. You're going to continue to go through with the consequence manipulation that has been planned out, if that's extinction or whatever.
It's so important that you just said that, because how often are we someplace and we see with a neurotypical child that the child is hitting or kicking or whatever, and we hear the mom saying, use your words, use your words, right? But that is not the moment, right? That's difficult.
It's very difficult, and so that's why it's included in functional or in antecedent modifications, because teaching of it happens before the behavior occurs. And so you are actually going to sit there with your child and prompt them to hand you an icon or to say, I want a snack, or snack please, these different ones. And as soon as they say it, you're going to give them the snack, and you're going to go through this teaching procedure as you would teach any other behavior. And again, the idea is when they get to a point where they want a snack, the child has these skills now to choose the different behaviors that will occur. And then they'll start to realize also that when I ask, using this functional communication skill that I was taught, I get a reinforcement. But when I scream and kick and cry, I don't get anything.
It doesn't work.
And so it's really about what it ends up being reinforcing for the child. And so that's why it's also important to continue to use the consequence modifications that have been planned out. So continue to use extinction when the child's crying and screaming, and do not provide reinforcement in that situation, especially if you have taught a replacement behavior.
So just to recap, we're talking about these antecedent modifications. These are things that happen before the behavior occurs. If you're in a situation where the behavior is occurring, then you have different strategies that you're going to use, not these strategies.
Exactly.
We're not saying that you just let them kick anybody, right? It's just a different set of strategies, those consequence strategies that you would use in that case. So you pick out the different area of the tool belt and you go, here are my tools there. But these are ways that we can get there beforehand that are very, very effective.
Exactly. And I just want to say again, because non-contingent reinforcement is my favorite, But also with that, we see a lot in the research that the child has a more positive affect when non-contingent reinforcement is used. The child will approach the person instead of retreat more often, and so it's almost like rapport building. You're teaching the kid that you're paired with something good too. So, and you're giving this to them on a frequent basis, no matter what they're doing. So it's non-contingent.
And would you say this too, Angela, that a lot of times people will write in, and I know I've had this experience with my son before too, because we are such we try to reinforce and try to, ask, what do you want to work for? But a lot of times kids get into a rut where they'll do something and they say, well, what do I get for that at a point, right? But this non-contingent reinforcement, if it's in place, it also helps with that too. So that if giving it to them at random times beforehand will help with the child who is constantly looking to get paid for something. So I recommend it for that as well.
I even recommend it using it with your friends or your colleagues.
Absolutely.
Like just try it for a day, giving non-contingent compliments to people.
It's crazy. I mean, here in this building, you guys have taught me so much, because the people who are clinicians engage in this on a regular basis, and they send you an email, they see something and they'll say, this is what great job. It's a lovely place to work in terms of that. It really is. It makes everybody, you see people working harder and enjoying their relationships with each other. It's a great, great thing. We're essentially out of time, so I want to thank you, because this is all very useful, and I love the fact that it's recorded, so if there's some part of it you go, I don't quite get that, you can rewind and go back over it, because I'll need to do that with some of it. Emily is cycling through some of the different ways that you can get a hold of us. I want a little programming note for tomorrow, that we have Dr. Tarbox on Fridays, but he's going to be joining us earlier in the day tomorrow, because we have a very special guest who's coming in tomorrow afternoon, Nick Guzman, who is a wonderful singer and guitar player. He is opening for Crosby, Stills and Nash on Saturday night, and going to play on stage with them for the Light Up the Blues Autism Speaks event that's happening here in Los Angeles on Saturday night. So Nick is going to be here with us in the studio tomorrow, and is even going to, play a song for us. Very excited about that. He is on the spectrum, a lovely, lovely young man. So that will be tomorrow, and Dr. Tarbox will be earlier. So if you want to see Dr. Tarbox, you'll need to tune in a little bit earlier. We're out of time, but I do have to tell you, I have to remind you, Bite Your Bills. Go to biteyourbills.com, register for those webinars. These are free webinars, and if you can't make it to the webinars that are scheduled, make sure that Yolanda Baker knows. You can tell her at biteyourbills.com, because this is great information that you're going to want to have for this year's taxes and for the future. We're out of time, but we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.